What's up, everybody? I'm back again with another tank top video. We're going to be discussing Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, you might be thinking, I already did a Deadpool and Wolverine video. You are right if you saw it. I did do a Deadpool and Wolverine video. However, it was a non-spoiler video, and it's been a few weeks since Deadpool and Wolverine has come out, and I feel like I am now free to discuss the spoilers of Deadpool and Wolverine. So let's get into it, right? Let's get into it. So I'm gonna start with what I basically thought I said in the original review was that it was a fun movie, right? It was a fun movie. Rated R. Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman. The characters look like the characters. They act like the characters for the most part. There's a lot to love about this movie, right? There's a lot to love about Deadpool and Wolverine. It's probably the first Marvel movie in years that I was actually excited about because it looked like it was going to be fun. First movie in a long time, like besides maybe Dune, that I actually went to go to the theaters to go see. That's how excited I was for it. Unfortunately, it doesn't age very well. It ages about as good as, I guess milk would be a good comparison. I don't want to say it ages as badly as McDonald's French fries or nothing, but it's not a great. The movie is mostly gimmicky, right? And I think I even said that in my review. My first review is that it's a gimmicky movie. It relies mostly on key jangles and parlor tricks to keep it going for 2 hours, right? And they acknowledge the length of the movie too, like. One of the biggest fundamental problems that I have with it is it doesn't feel like it's a sequel to Deadpool 1 or 2, right? It's the narrative structure, like where Deadpool talks to his audience, breaking the fourth wall, that's almost absent in this movie, right? Like he does it a little bit, right? He does conversate with the audience, but he mostly talks in the script with other characters rather than to the audience. He makes meta references, and that's funny, but like a lot of that identity of the first two movies is gone. Like you remember the opening intros of Deadpool 1 and 2 where basically you'd think that Deadpool had edited those opening intros where basically, it's like, oh, directed by this scumbag, right? Like, as he was doing goofy stuff. They didn't do that this time around. Now, I know they did the NSYNC, dancing montage, which, again, funny, but it lacked the identity of what it could have been. Like, imagine what this movie could have been, story-wise. I still think that bringing back Hugh Jackman was a massive red flag, especially considering Logan and the continuity of which. And I'll get to that. But compliments here. Every actor in the movie does a decent job, right? Nobody took me out of it with their bad acting or anything like that. The acting was pretty spot on, pretty solid. Visual effects were mostly good when they were practical, and a few CGI. There was a few times where CGI was a little choppy, right? Like in the bus sequence. I really loved the bus sequence where Deadpool and Wolverine fight all the variants, right? They fight all the variants in a bloody massacre, which is fucking great. I love that. That's what I came to see, basically, right? When they jump on the bus and Wolverine and Deadpool jump out of the back of the bus through the glass, you can tell where the CGI on Wolverine gets a little bit choppy. But that's mostly where it gets choppy, right? The content, like, okay, so let's talk about the story. Let's break down the story real quick, right? This is probably going to be a long video, hopefully not. But taking place a couple years, 7 or so years after Deadpool 2, Deadpool has the time travel device that Cable gave him, or that he stole from Cable, rather. And he uses it to fix his timeline. And then he uses it to travel to the MCU. I'm not going to call it 616. Fuck that. That's one of the things. That's first thing that I really didn't like. Right? I really fucking hated the idea of making the MCU 616. You have to be a real comic fan to know that's bullshit. So, the movie really opens up with the most obvious meta thing ever. Is that Deadpool is digging up the grave from Logan of a dead Wolverine, basically, right? But it's on the nose. It's a little on the nose, right? Digging up the corpse of an old franchise to use it to merge with the Marvel sludge. It felt that felt equally fun as it did disrespectful. Like there is a like it both can be true, right? Both can be true. And so he uses the bones of Wolverine's dead corpse from Logan to murder a bunch of TVA agents, which I am all here. I'm all here for, right? You know, kill all those TVA agents and Loki, but he uses the bones to wipe them out mercilessly, and in a NSYNC dancing montage that he does. So that was funny, but it lacked the identity of the first two movies. And so, seeing that he goes to the MCU timeline, he confronts CGI de-aged Happy Hogan, played by Jon Favreau. That entire room that they're talking in drags, like, it's full of, you know, fun little Easter eggs and cameos from, you know, the MCU movies, but the scene drags on longer than it needs to. And if there's one thing that Deadpool and Wolverine does that really affects it in the long term, is they call out the thing, like they criticize the thing, and then they do the thing they criticize. For example, you know, Deadpool criticizes that scene. He says, you know, I think we were dragging this scene along. You know, we should really get to the fun stuff. He says that as the scene is dragging on. Throughout the entire movie, we see references by Deadpool saying, yeah, this multiverse crap nobody really likes this multiverse crap. As they're doing this multiverse crap. If you get what I'm saying, right? Do you understand? They are criticizing the thing that they are doing as they are doing it, rather than just not doing it and still criticizing it, right? But it was just kind of what the old Deadpool movies were built on. That's the most frustrating thing, is that they criticize the thing before they do the thing. And so it feels redundant. This movie feels like it's a massive fucking cash grab, right? It's a massive cash grab. You know, Deadpool is not accepted into the Avengers because he tries to apply for the Avengers with Jon Favreau. They reject him. He quits being Deadpool. Feels like it's another destruction of character for a little bit, but it's not as bad as things like Luke Skywalker. Jesus. And that could be applied to Wolverine as well. It's just like they fall down in the dumps. At least they can get out of it, but it just feels mellow. It feels hollow, right? It just doesn't feel right. Now, there are beautiful things about this movie. You know, once Deadpool gets captured by the TVA. Oh yeah, him breaking up with Vanessa was stupid. But once he was captured by the TVA, they tell him, anchor being. Anchor being, what the fuck is that? What, are we adding new elements to this already fucked up clustered timeline? You know, I feel like if you watched Loki, you would have at least had some sort of understanding of how the fundamentals of this, you know, multiverse shit in Marvel works. But even so, they don't really have a clue themselves, and it's only been a fucking mess this entire time. So, anchor being. What's an anchor being? Well, apparently it's a singular individual in each universe that if they die, that universe collapses. So, I have a few questions. What happens to a universe before an anchor being is born? What happens after an anchor being dies of natural causes? Is this just a metaphorical sense? This movie has a big thing, is that its story plot really is affected by its meta, you know, commentary. It doesn't feel like a real plot, right? And so it just feels like it's a way to move the story along to get to the gimmicks, to get to the fun stuff, right? While constantly acknowledging all of its failures at the same time, narratively speaking. And so, yeah, basically Wolverine was the anchor being in the Logan universe, the X-Men universe. Okay, I guess. So they show references to Uncanny X-Men where the Fever Dream cover, which was cool with the crucified Wolverine. We got to see Weapon X. We got to see Old Man Logan, a proper Old Man Logan. The John Byrne Wolverine versus Hulk, thing with the brown suit, the brown and yellow. We got to see a whole bunch of Wolverine cameos as Deadpool bounced throughout the multiverse to grab Wolverine to save his universe, which did feel like a Deadpool thing. So a lot of gay jokes. What are you gonna do? That's Deadpool. But finally, he gets to a Wolverine that basically is, compatible for the most part, but he's drunk. So he does wear the yellow and blue like X-Men suit. Thank fuck. A lot of people have been saying, that's something they've been wanting for like 20 years. And I'm glad Marvel finally gutsed up and gave them what they want. This movie is, I applaud this movie for one thing, is that it's very fun. It's very appealable, has a lot of heart, and it's, it appeals to a lot of people. It gives people what they want, right? It gives them what they want for the most part, even if it is lacking a story. I feel like this may be the third best, movie since Endgame in terms of Marvel. And it's in a rough spot between Deadpool 1 and 2, where like Deadpool 1 is still the best Deadpool movie by far. Deadpool 2 is solid, but it's something about it doesn't really line up. I think this movie actually may be in third place because of its narrative failings. I do think that key jangling is not a way to really make up for this movie's failures. And there's a lot of key jangling. A lot of cameos from old X-Men movies like Juggernaut, Pyro, Azazel, not X-23. Oh, yeah. Well, yes, X-23, but Lady Deathstrike was who I was thinking about. Lady Deathstrike is in there. There's a lot of old X-Men movie cameos. Chris Evans comes back, and you think that he's Captain America, but he ends up being Johnny Storm, which was funny. Didn't really need it. At least in the way that they presented it. I would have rather they not done that if they could help it, because it felt like it was another Multiverse of Madness moment. At the very moment where Johnny Storm, played by Chris Evans, now, him getting his balls crushed means fuck all to me. Chris Evans did that to himself. But it's when Cassandra Nova, the villain, rips his skin off that I really got, dark flashbacks to Mr. Fantastic being turned into fucking spaghetti, which I will never forgive, by the way. I will never, ever forgive that. But that's what it felt like, right? All this Loki shit, I didn't really care for it. Eliath, don't really give a fuck. Don't really give a fuck about the TVA. Cassandra Nova was an obscure character that we really didn't want or need. And she felt two-dimensional. She seems like she's potentially a good villain. It might have been perfect for this movie too, but she doesn't really have the same gravitas or the same history or lore that characters like, hell, I would have even accepted Kang as the villain in this movie because it would have fit as long as, Kang gets defeated in this movie. But Cassandra Nova did not hold up as a villain, mostly because her motivations are like what? She wants to destroy everything so that the entire multiverse could be in the void. Well, she wants to do that using a MacGuffin thing that they call a MacGuffin thing in the movie to destroy everything, atomize the entire multiverse, which includes the void, right? For the most part, like, it doesn't feel like a smart plan. It feels kind of stupid. And so that takes away from the movie a little bit. It ends with, Wolverine and Deadpool stopping a multiverse MacGuffin thing, which it felt exhausting by that point. But there are some good parts. I was very surprised and very happy to see, Channing Tatum arrive here as Gambit, which is something he's wanted to do for a long time. They never got around to that Gambit movie. And he delivers as Gambit. I would have liked to have seen that because it's a good Gambit. He looks and acts like Gambit and has the accent and everything, right? They brought back Wesley Snipes as Blade. fucking love that. I love Wesley Snipes' Blade. And there's even a line in the movie where Wesley Snipes is like, there's only one blade. And Deadpool looks at the camera and he's like, because if you don't know, the new Blade movie, the Blade reboot for the MCU, has been a production failure, basically. Multiple directors and writers in and out of the studio. That Blade remake was announced in 2019 with Phase 4 of Marvel, and they have yet to get into full production. The guy who's cast as Blade, there are rumors that he just wants out. He wants out of the project. So anyway, sidelining from Blade, I do think that Blade, played by Wesley Snipes, was fucking, love it. And the reference to Blade Trinity, because Ryan Reynolds was in that movie too, was like, there's a lot of deep cuts. A lot of fun cameos. Unfortunately, your movie should not be all cameos. Even No Way Home learned that lesson, you know? And No Way Home was gimmicky as fuck. It was very gimmicky, based off of nostalgia bait. But for the most part, they understood there was a story. There was a beginning, middle, and end. There was a clear path, you know, characterization, all this shit. This movie felt like a parody. This movie felt like a clear parody. Now, as bloody as it is, and as fun as it is, you know, things like the car sequence where Deadpool and Wolverine talk shit about each other before fighting for a long time, you know, that was funny. That was cool. Built up a lot of character. Loved it. Unfortunately, didn't save the movie, right? This movie can really be judged on, because, okay, let me get back to the plot. I'm losing focus here. Once they get to the Void, once Deadpool and Wolverine escape to the Void, that's where the movie kind of takes on its cameo shit, right? Deadpool and Wolverine they're captured by Cassandra Nova. You know, they defeat Sabretooth in like less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 seconds, really, which was kind of disappointing, but I guess I can't say that I don't think that wouldn't happen, where he gets decapitated almost immediately by Wolverine. I imagine that would probably happen. And Deadpool was picking up his head and like, you know, this is your queen. Funny. Anyway, they go out of the Void, or they get to the Void. They're captured by Cassandra Nova. Then I want to say they escape. It's kind of tough to remember from here, because they escape and go off to the rest of the Void. They leave the desert part. They find Nice Pool, played by Man Bun Ryan Reynolds. Dogpool was funny. Oh yeah, they do escape using a sentinel foot. I remember that. Okay. And so Dogpool was funny. Just another puppy cameo for all the women to, you know, swoon to, I guess. And so after that scene where Wolverine and Deadpool have that car sequence, they both pass out in the car, and X-23 picks them up, and that's when we see X-23, Elektra, Blade, Gambit, all that fun stuff. More characterization here and there. For the most part, you know, we get to understand these characters and their, you know, references to old movies that they were in. And then they devise a plan to attack Cassandra Nova. They get there. Freaking great sequence where all the heroes are teaming up and taking on, you know, all the villains from Cassandra Nova, and they try to infiltrate her brain to stop her from, you know, I guess taking control of everybody's bodies like zombies. We break down what is actually troubling Wolverine, which is that, well, in his universe, all the X-Men died. All the humans killed all the X-Men. And all the mutants, and he was the last one, and he started going on a rampage, killing all the humans. Now that, I didn't mind it, but at the same time, I felt like it was a bit much for Wolverine, right? It's a bit much for Wolverine, and you can kind of understand why he would do that, but at the same time, we would have to have seen it first. You know, we would have had to have seen the trauma first, right? And so, yeah, they break out of Cassandra's spell there, and then Cassandra just so happens, to have a sling ring, and she owes her life to Deadpool and Wolverine for them saving her life after she gets shot throughout all the chaos, after Pyro shoots her, basically. And she owes her life to them, so she pulls out a sling ring and opens up a portal to let Deadpool and Wolverine escape. Escape Goliath, that is. Once they escape Goliath and go back to their respective universe, Cassandra's like, well, fuck that. I want to destroy the universe with a TVA multiverse melting spaghetti weapon, MacGuffin thing that she plugs herself into and does the whole roll the eye thing and then tries to destroy the universe. And then she gets atomized at the very end. And so basically Deadpool and Wolverine get back and they're forced to fight all the Deadpool variants. One of them's Lady Pool, played by Blake Lively. Cowboy Pool, Cowboy Pool, played by Matthew McConaughey, which was funny. We got Head Pool, we got Kid Pool, we got Welsh Pool. Shout out Mauler. We got what was it? Dog Pool, Nice Pool. Nice Pool gets the brunt of it. He's used as a human shield to block all the bullets incoming to Deadpool. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the healing factor, so he just falls apart. That part was kind of funny to me. I really liked that little campy humor. Of course, Wolverine's holding Dog Pool, and he gets up and just walks over and is fine. Peter Pool shows up, and everybody loves Peter, and it saves the day after the bus sequence. Just felt like a weird, gratuitous cameo shit, basically. And so Deadpool and Wolverine go into the subway, and there's a moment there about 2 hours in where Deadpool goes, like, he looks at the camera and he's like, hold on, folks, we're in the home stretch. It's like, thanks for acknowledging how long this movie is. It makes the movie longer. It makes the movie feel longer. By that time, I was holding my bladder, right? And so they save the day. They team up to penetrate the multiverse thing, MacGuffin thing, and it reverses on Cassandra Nova, and she gets atomized. We see body positivity time cop from Loki, and she falls in love with Peter, like, almost immediately, white boy magic. And so the movie ends with Madonna music, and they save X-23. Don't know where the other members, like Gambit and Blade and Elektra, are, but they save X-23 from the void to come back with Wolverine to live in Deadpool's universe. They all live happily ever after. And it makes you wonder if there's going to be a sequel, right? And so there are cameos, or no, there's a post-credit scene, the very end of the movie, where Deadpool uses the TVA monitors to pull a joke on Chris Evans as Johnny Storm. Okay, whatever. But during the actual main credits, we got a Green Day, music video with a bunch of behind the scenes stuff that's paying tribute to the Fox universe. That's including the X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four movies, all of it, basically, right? It's a big homage tribute to the older Marvel movies. If you grew up in the 2000s, right? Like I did. I love those Fantastic Four movies, even if they're not great. I can't say all of them, just the early 2000s ones. The 2015 Fan 4 Stick, fucking hate it, never want to watch it again. But it was a nice little tribute. But Marvel does not have the permission to do that. And like I mentioned earlier, I will not forgive what they did to Reed Richards and Multiverse of Madness, right? This Fox merger with Disney and Marvel happened in 2018, bled into 2019. So basically, Marvel and Disney have had the rights to the Fox characters for about 5 years. For 5 fucking years. And this is the first time they've used them adequately. You know what they've been using them for since then? Well, they couldn't pick up the phone to call Universal to get a proper Namor, so we got Namor. We got Namor, the colonizer destroyer. We got the first mutant in the MCU canonically was Miss Marvel. Thanks. We got a minor reference to Wolverine and She-Hulk, a show I didn't watch and hope I never watch, be so my audience doesn't force me to, subjugate myself to torture. Small cameo from Wolverine in like a little article or something. It was like a small little Easter egg, right? Not a real cameo, but just an Easter egg. Then we got Multiverse of Madness, where we see Professor X, played by, Sir Patrick Stewart. I believe he's a Sir. Patrick Stewart. And they do him dirty. They do him dirty as fuck. Not that he really gives a shit. And then they do the one fan casting of Reed Richards, John Krasinski, and they fuck him over. They fuck him over so hard. I hate that movie. I hate it so much. Fuck Multiverse of Madness. Anyway, that is their mindset. That is how they feel about the Fox movies. Kevin Feige might have been producer on some of them, might have love for some of them, but don't get it twisted. Disney does not have any love for those movies. And they do not have the right to play a tribute video of them burying Marvel. That's what it felt like. Even the first time I watched this movie, I was like, yeah, that tribute was nice. Got me a little bit choked up. But it just feels like it's Marvel burying the Fox universe. Saying goodbye forever. We'll use the cameos for Secret Wars, basically, right? That idea of Deadpool saying that Wolverine will be doing this until he's 90. Oh shit, they're going to make him do it till he's 90. They won't reboot, will they? They're just going to keep using Hugh Jackman as Wolverine forever. It's like, fuck's sake, man. So, positives about this movie is, I guess it depends on your values, right? If you love key jangles, this is the movie for you. For me, it's going to take a lot more than key jangles to keep me coming back, right? Because the next thing up is Agatha Harkness and Captain Black Falcon, African America, right? It's the same bullshit. I know there's rumors of Marvel turning things around, but it's going to take a long time for them to do it. And if their way of turning around is just cameos, they're not turning anything around. They need to fix the fucking problem. Kevin Feige. Fix fucking Kevin Feige problem. So, basically, I watched this movie on the Thursday night opening, and I really enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I would like to watch it again, mainly because it's a fun movie. It's a fun summer blockbuster. It made $1 billion like a week or two ago. Well-deserved, I guess, for giving fans what they want. It's the most Marvel movie we've seen in a few years because it has so many deep cuts and references. It truly tells you that the people who made this movie tried to make it with love, And I can't hate it for that. Unfortunately, the narrative structure, the narrative problems, and the ultimate, I guess, refusal to fix the Marvel Universe, be it in this movie or just overall cinematically, is disrespectful. And so therefore, I watched it the Thursday opening, and then I watched it with some friends in a group on the Saturday afterwards, only a few days later. And I didn't enjoy it as much that Saturday, even with my friends. Even with the people I went to go see it with. All the jokes were funny the first time, but I could see them coming from a mile away the second time. So the jokes didn't hit as hard, right? The bloody gore stuff, already saw it. Cameos, I already knew the cameos were coming. The shock value was gone. The shock value was gone from that point, and it felt more disappointing than anything. And even the first time around, the movie left me wanting more. It made me feel like there should have been more. And that's not more cameos, more Easter eggs, more story, more reason to come back, right? And this movie still has a lot of rewatchability, basically through Hugh Jackman and Deadpool, and Ryan Reynolds, basically, and their chemistry. But that's the fundamental thing about this movie, is that it's more of a buddy cop movie between those two characters rather than any other type of movie, right? It's just kind of a stupid movie that you can turn your brain off for, have a little bit of fun, and I can't hate it for that, but it didn't age very well, And unfortunately, I don't think this it's not going to save Marvel, first of all. Marvel's not turning around for a while, if ever. But this movie does not hold up well with all these spoilers. And I've had time to think about this, and I'm sure I'm probably in the minority here, but I've considered the facts. Now, do I hate this movie? No. I still enjoy it, as I've said, and I'm probably going to see it more times in the future, be it home media or otherwise. But it just does not hold up in terms of story arcs, continuity, and basic cinematic pleasure, I guess. You know, it doesn't have basic storytelling to keep you coming back. So that's my 2 cents on it. I probably missed a few things in my review because I EFAP'd it without having references. But you know, what are your thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine now that we've hit the $1 billion mark and we're past the spoiler section, you know, and we're ready to, you know, talk about the future of the MCU, right? Especially, oh God, yeah, the whole you're gonna be doing this to your 90 thing, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. What the fuck are you thinking? So yeah, it's MCU's still a mess. It's still a mess, and it's gonna take a long time to fix. So what are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. If you hated my take, tell me you hate my take. You know, call me a racist if you want. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Some of y'all aren't subscribed. Keep subscribing. And until next time, I will see y'all in another tank top video. Don't smoke crack.